impressive.
In the USA.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Yes, today is today.
Hard to get all the parts in, but we'll make it sound nice.
There's a good, if people are Springsteen fans out there, there's a book that came out about a year ago about him writing the album Nebraska. And he wrote Born in the USA, a lot of those songs on that album at the same time as Nebraska. And he just sort of came out with, and he was going through a lot of different things. And so some songs were just Nebraska songs and others made it onto the Born in the USA album. But it's a really good book. I don't know, it's on Amazon. I forgot the name of it, but people are into that stuff. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Hold on one sec, okay?
Sure. What's going on?
I had to yell at my family.
I don't hear anything. So
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, right? And I probably shouldn't have told you. Then I could have gotten away with not telling the entire world that I just yelled at my family. I didn't.
It happens.
In anger. It's because of distance.
No, I know. No, okay, yeah. Every so often, I'm on something and recording something, and then somebody starts making a smoothie, and it's like, can you stop making smoothies right now?
All right. But usually, what you're gonna do is you're gonna basically pause the recording, right? So, hey, a moment of once Rob gets on, we're gonna do a moment of silence for 9/11.
Yes.
We're gonna do our 9/11 tribute. So, hey, Rob, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Wonderful. You look great. You look like an analyst.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
So
you have the veneer of professionality.
Oh,
There's you nailed it, dude. It's just the veneer.
It's just the veneer.
Yeah. Very unbecoming of you.
I know. Oh my god. Crazy.
How are you doing?
I tell you, I woke up this morning and thought the building was on fire because it smelled like smoke. And then I looked outside. The entire city of Vegas is just blanketed in deep smoke.
Yeah.
California fires. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like 3 different fires in California that the smoke's blowing this way to Vegas. So it's pretty bad. Pretty late in the season. Ugh, I hate to say that.
Yeah. So really quickly, hey everyone, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. It's to be known as the collective perspective, right? Not misguided.
Not misguided, but
not throwing tomatoes with Rob.
There you go.
Collective perspective. Ooh, that is really.
That's what it looks like outside.
It's quite Blade Runner-esque.
It is Blade Runner-esque.
All I can do is focus on the sphere. The sphere.
We had to pay. Right. We had to pay extra to get the Blade Runner look going. Yeah.
Awesome. So hey, we're gonna do a moment of silence on this day, which is 9/11, in memory of all those who were lost on that fateful day, tragic day. And so, why don't we take a moment of silence here? And we encourage everyone, to as well, because it was a world tragedy, it was a global tragedy, and a huge loss. So. Okay, I think that was good, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, after all these years, condolences to all the families who lost loved ones on that day, and
hard to believe 23 years ago.
I know, it's unreal. Time flies.
Like yesterday,
and we've come.
Yeah,
come along.
I remember being a kid. My grandparents, my granddad, he was an executive with Equitable Life Insurance, which was like in Rockefeller Center back then, and back way before then, actually. And so I remember being a kid and riding the train into New York with him we lived in Old Greenwich, Connecticut, and we'd go in there and go up to, but I remember getting to go, he took me to lunch at Windows on the World.
Oh yeah.
And that was so cool. I was like, I was like,
I remember that.
I was like, yeah, it's a neat place.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, let me tell you a crazy story. So on September 10th, my parents were at the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And they were at the top.
Yeah.
And they sent pictures. Dated, right? Because back then you had the cameras that put that burned the little date on
watermark.
Yeah. And then the next day, yes, of course, everyone knows.
Wow.
And I freaked out because there was no internet back then. I only saw those photos after the fact.
Right.
My parents were there in New York, and then they took off from New York because they were freaking out, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Headed toward DC. That was supposed to be their next stop, and that's when the Pentagon got hit on that day.
Wow.
And so they have photos of the last day that the towers were standing.
Wow.
Isn't that freaky?
That
It is freaky.
Yeah. I could have lost my parents if it was just one day.
Yeah, I know, it's scary.
So it really how.
I know a lot of people always thought of the Twin Towers as like this iconic representation of America and American strength.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Which is probably why they were targeted, because they were so iconic. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and remember the guy who did the tightrope walk between the two towers?
French guy.
Fascinating.
That's right.
There's a great movie about it, actually.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, documentary.
It is really good, actually. It is really good.
And then, of course, there's the remake, the Dino De Laurentiis version of King Kong, where he climbs the Twin Towers. Right?
Didn't they build like the robot King Kong?
Yeah,
they did. Yeah, some like life-size robot of King Kong or something. And I remember they were filming in New York. Like they had the ape like in the sidewalk, like at the base of the Twin Tower. They were like filming that like life-size, closing the streets in New York City and stuff. That was like in 76, 75.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty advanced tech back then.
Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange.
There you go.
See, now I made a cultural.
That's right. That put her on the map, didn't it?
Yeah, that
was her first big role.
Yeah,
for sure. Oh my gosh! But the other thing I know, and a lot of people say this, is they long for the feeling of September 12th because Americans came together in such a way, because I know a lot of times everybody feels like we're all divided and stuff.
I'll tell you an anecdote. We probably all have an anecdote because I flew to the US on the 9/10, so the day before.
Yeah.
Not to New York, but I was actually going to a Garner conference in Palm Springs. So I flew to Los Angeles, drove there, and obviously the next morning I wake up at 5 a.m. because of jet lag. And I go they had a little tube TV in the bathrooms. They gave me this nice room, and I could see the CNN and the Twin Towers smoking on that little screen. So I went out, went to the big show, said, oh, shoot. And to the point, Rob, what I was surprised is because I was coming the day before because I had a kind of a pre-set show, whatever it was. So there was only 3 of us on the conference and everything got canceled, obviously. But I drove in the afternoon to Walmart, and I was surprised seeing family bringing their kids and buying some American flag and putting them on the car and all types of people.
I remember that. Those were, I wish we had that kind of unity all the time,
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to do any probably political references, but
no, you're right. But
given what we witnessed last night, yes, we should remember all that.
Yeah, you feel it for sure. Wow, holy moly!
Yeah.
So, what is going on in tech this week?
Well,
wait.
Remember to take us seriously at your own risk. We have offloaded all of that onto you like a financial derivative. We've shipped that offshore, off seas to investors.
This is an off book.
Transaction.
You're on your own. Export transaction.
Yeah. So don't take us seriously. This is us having fun. In other words, for entertainment purposes only. That's not to say that useful stuff doesn't come out of these rants, but yeah, we do it all for the kids, people. You know.
That's right. There you go.
Talk is about elevateourkids.org, and it's a charity that we started now 4 years ago. Okay, and Stephanie Atkins is the champion of this, and the whole mission is to bridge the digital equity divide for kids K through 12 in underserved and unserved communities, and there's still a lot of them out there. You have the whole beads thing going on, but they still haven't bridge the digital divide. They have the typical, infighting and fighting over funds and allocations and all that stuff. So, you still have all these kids who don't have laptops and devices to engage them in all the digital fantastic stuff that we take for granted every single day. So
imagine people
donating. Yeah.
Imagine you're in a data center, a colo, and someone decides to put Oracle Exadata racks inside there for you because you get better IOPS and stuff like that. And then you look around and you realize, oh my God, I'm inside an AWS cloud data center. Well, that's exactly what the big news this week has been. Sometimes we have those hell freezes over moments, and so we had one of those, So Larry Ellison and the folks up at Amazon got together, and they're putting native, Oracle into AWS data centers. But we're not just talking about, hey, I'm running Oracle on a VM in AWS. They're literally putting their hardware, their Exadata racks inside AWS. And they explained that people are like, well, why do you need to go to all that trouble? They said it's all about performance. Those of you who are database people or were database DBAs, you remember the term IOPS?
Yeah.
All that IO per second. Anyway, millions of IOPS in Oracle database on their gear versus a couple 100,000 IOPS when you're running in a virtual machine in one of the hyperscalers. And so anyway, cool. You have those hell freezes over moments, but a lot of times it comes back to customers are asking for. And I think the reason Amazon's doing this is, remember, Amazon's the first company that started talking about we're customer obsessed, and then all the other companies started copying them. Well, that's it. That's what customers are asking for. They want that. They want that same. It's funny. I had lots of people reach out going, "Oh, who uses relational databases anymore? Oracle's dead." And I'm like, no, they're still by far the number one enterprise database on the planet. It's actually not even close. But I think a lot of younger people assume that NoSQL databases or something else has taken over. It's like, no, the stock exchange still runs on Oracle, like all the other ones.
You might want to ask them what language they use with their AI model. Most of these guys are using SQL to clean the data, so maybe they probably don't know that SQL is in the beginning a language for relational databases. That's right. Remind them.
And here's some trivia. Here's trivia for all you. Do you? Yeah.
How do you know all this stuff?
Oh, really?
Where are you to be imparted?
I snuck in. I dressed up. I snuck in. I'm pretending to be one of those industry analyst people.
Oh my God!
And I snuck into this Oracle conference. It's called Oracle Cloud World at the Venetian. And I don't know why they're telling me all this stuff. I'm in like all these private meetings and, hearing all kinds of stuff about this thing called AI. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
I know. But apparently databases are important is what I'm learning here.
Yeah. The only problem with Oracle is they're still stuck on this row level locking when page level locking is much far superior. So that's a private joke. Young kids, if you get this one, I buy you a beer. Exactly. I didn't tell him that I, was a SQL Server person, so I'd probably get shot. Right?
Keep that to yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to keep that to myself. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm going to. Yes, all my Sybase friends there.
Yeah. But Oracle used to have a conference called Open World, and now it's called Cloud World because they have their own cloud. Just in case you hadn't heard, and it's called OCI.
Yeah.
Or Oracle Cloud Infrastructure.
And
so,
well, in fairness to Oracle, Larry Ellison was one of the first to seriously push the no client. I remember seeing him on stage in France breaking up a PC and saying, "Oh, you broke up the PC, so you have no more app. This is why you need the app in the server." Blah blah blah. So they were visionary. Yeah. They were very visionary for that.
He was. He talked about network computing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was the ancestor of the browser, basically, a very lightweight computer where all the applications were running on the.
Remember that was a thing for a while.
No.
It wasn't a thing in Redmond, but it was a thing in Silicon Valley. Remember, Sun built the Sunray machines and everything. We're just going to deliver applets and things like that.
Right.
Thin computing, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember Larry Ellison going, "It's just bits." It's just like, he was making fun of disks and stuff like that. He's like, "We're going to deliver bits over the internet to your client." Whoa.
But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, the whole zero client thing never really worked out, did it?
Well, to somebody's point, the browser ended up maybe being that, I guess, in fact, maybe the people at Google selling Chromebooks might say, "Hey, maybe this is kind of like that." I don't know.
If it was, then it wouldn't have a lot of compute on it.
There was always this
compute and more compute. It's like
there was always these complaints that Microsoft put too much functionality and too many configuration tweaks in Windows that are exposed to users, and users ended up being their own worst enemy. Users would routinely screw up their PC and their Windows deal. And so I think a lot of thinking was, we're just not going to let you do any of that. We're just going to deliver stuff to you over the internet.
Yeah.
This new internet thing, the information superhighway, or I remember the guys at InfoWorld called it the Infobahn for a while.
Well, doesn't Azure have they have the virtual desktop or something that they sell?
Yeah.
They sell a lot of
That's
that
right.
stuff, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Companies buy that
Can't
stuff.
beat them, join them. Yeah, for frontline workers and stuff.
Yeah, remote desktop kind of delivered over the air.
Yeah, remote desktop.
Yeah, you're right. But you're right. They're getting an image of Windows. That's pretty wild stuff. So, who knew?
Yeah,
interesting stuff. So I'm pretending to be an analyst. I don't know what I'm doing. Actually, I called this guy I know, Leonard, and he told me what to do. and so what I did is I got this little iPad that I'm talking to you on that's got a keyboard, and I used the little iOS notes feature that you have on your phone, and man, I was just taking notes like crazy in all these sessions. And this guy also told me, just take pictures with your phone of all the slides, and then you'll regurgitate it later. So man, I was taking pictures of slides. But you know who else was doing the same thing, sitting next to me? Oh, I don't know, Mr. Newman. Pat, his buddy, his bestie, the 6'5" guys.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
So I was hanging out with them. Oh my God. So yes, it's all coming together now. I'm really not. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I'm down here in San Jose, by the way, at the AI Edge Hardware Summit, AI Hardware and Edge AI Summit, which apparently next year is going to be called the AI Infra Summit. So they're going to clean up that name. But
they got to keep pivoting.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Is that like a VC term? Keep pivoting. Pivot until you find product market.
Until you pivot 360. And
well, I mean, look at what do you call IoT Solutions World Congress was doing. They loaded the whole thing up with AI Congress, and it was like they were placing bets to see where the hype would actually land and not be just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Blockchain World Congress. I remember when crypto was taking off. That thing was just madness. Of course, it was a zoo of just really bad ideas and just techno delusion.
And listen, are you guys getting this stuff? A zoo of bad ideas, techno delusion. Are you talking about our show?
Well, we are kind of like animal in cage on Zoom. So animals in
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Placing bets like this. But yeah. So what's going on? I mean, what's happening there? You're just mentioning where you are, but isn't there anything to talk about? Come on, man.
It's outside now. You know?
Same old, same old. Oh, well, I think I mentioned to you, Leonard, I heard Intel's giving away some good Yeti tumblers here. So that's kind of my main goal, is to get a Yeti tumbler.
Well, I saw the Intel was being dismantled. There's some news.
Well, they still have the Yeti tumblers, apparently.
Oh my god.
As long as they have the tumblers from Yeti, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
The whole world could be collapsing around you, but as long as you got your Yeti thing, you're good.
The question is, who's going to buy Intel's network and edge business? Who's going to buy that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is not their moneymaker. So I'm sure that one's on the block at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had a conversation about that yesterday with someone. So
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, if you all want to pool some money together, I'm sure we could pick it up for.
Intel's edge thing used to be Wind River. Remember when they
used to own Wind River. Yeah, they owned Wind River for a while.
They acquired them specifically because they want to go into edge computing, and then they jettisoned them. Yeah. So sometimes I'm not sure what Intel's doing. They go in on stuff, and then they throw it out the window, and then they go back into it organically after they spent billions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're pivoting.
If you have a lot of cash and you can pivot crazy town stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. Wow. Who knew?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough situation for them. I think the bigger news was they dropped 20A, and they're going with TSMC now, or probably they call it a third party. Likely TSMC for Arrow Lake.
Okay.
Not until 18A, which is the end of the last phase, or the last node of their 5 nodes in 4 years, where we're going to hopefully see Panther Lake come in and bring everything to roost back in Intel Foundry. But until then, Intel Foundry is going to have to, depend on advanced packaging. But you know what? Here's the thing that's really kind of sad is the technologies that Intel has are incredibly valuable. It's just they're starting to have kind of a IBM problem, where they have great research, great technology, but then on the commercial end, they're having difficulties channeling that into competitive products and manufacturing excellence. And it's the execution side that's really suffered. And IBM was like that for a while. Rob, you were saying, hey, what's Intel doing? It looks like they're just buying companies and then spinning them off, and it's kind of what IBM was doing for a while, or you might still doing.
IBM used to make hard drives, and they used to make ThinkPads, and they used to make all kinds of stuff. And you're right, little by little, they just started
PCs.
They made PCs, and they just started spinning things off, right? And became a big consulting firm.
Yeah. And someone mentioned to me, it's like, because I was at Lenovo's Innovation World last week in Berlin. They're asking me, why did IBM spin off their PC business? Because Lenovo has it now, is just killing it, right?
They're killing it. Yeah.
And
is Lenovo number one in PC shipments, or is it? I know it's them, HP or Dell, right?
Yeah, they are, and I think it's HP and then Dell.
Okay.
But it's Lenovo is definitely a powerhouse in commercial, right? So So
basically, they're doing a better job of execution on the stuff that IBM invented than IBM was.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, would IBM be the PC laptop juggernaut today if they hung on to the ThinkPads and stuff? Or did they just not have that fire in the belly to go after it the way Lenovo has.
So different, right? Though the Windows Wintel ecosystem, Wintel system is so different, and the devices themselves have become so subordinate, to the chips in the OS.
Yeah,
right.
That disaggregation or decoupling, I think, has been a challenge to play as an OEM. But Lenovo obviously plays a pretty damn good game. So does Dell.
And remember Lenovo acquired Motorola. And I got them in the smartphone business. I think you've got one of those kind of a think phone that looks like a ThinkPad kind of
Razer.
And, it's interesting how things play out, And so, that whole trend started when Lou Gerstner took over the reins at IBM back in the 90s. When IBM was the biggest company ever, and then collapsed in the early 90s when Microsoft broke away, and they had the biggest layoffs in the history of any company in the early 90s, like over 250,000 people. Mm-hmm. And they almost went out of business, and Lou Gerstner came in and turned it into a big consulting firm. I'm glossing over a lot of stuff, but that's what he did. It's like he went after services, and you're right. Then they just started jettisoning all the things that they were known for. They were selling off.
They're chasing margin, right? And rather than looking at the entire portfolio of stuff that they have, and trying to figure out a way to, maybe create synergies across hardware, software, and services, they just focused on software, which they ended up not doing too well in, and then the service side of things, and that formula didn't work out. Then you have companies like Huawei that are doing what IBM could have done, and they're killing it. They're surviving, more than surviving, because they've announced. I don't know what this whole trifold phone is, but one of the things that is, whether it works or not, I think is a goofy device. Quite honestly, it's like I have troubles with just the foldables. They're just kind of awkward, no matter what people say.
They look cool.
The new Honor Magic V3 is pretty friggin' amazing. I was like, as soon as I picked it up, I went, what the hell? You get that impression when you handle that device. But I mean, trifold, come on. It
seems extreme.
It seems a little too much, but one thing it is like a middle finger. Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like,
am I the only one that gets emails almost every day from Samsung saying, "Okay, now if you trade in all these phones, we'll give you $1,800 off your Galaxy Fold." I think they're trying really hard to sell that thing. It's just so expensive. When you're trying to make it the next big thing and no one can afford it. It can't be the next big thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! That trifold phone is something like $2,800 US.
Yikes!
That's like you have to sell organs in order to buy.
Yeah, that's like a
laptop.
That's a high-end MacBook Pro, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah, that's what that is. I don't see people. Yeah. Oh, right. Just like Steve Ballmer told us, no one's going to buy this phone because it doesn't have a keyboard. So,
yeah,
he was right.
There you go. This is stylus.
Pete, did we wrap up something yesterday?
We did. We had episode 9 of 9 yesterday on Windows Phone WTF. So,
wow.
On YouTube, you can watch all 15 hours of interviews and commentary on the history of Microsoft's mobile platform.
Exactly.
And we had Laura Butler on there. That was cool. And it was a lot of fun. Right. It was a long project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, now it's in the archives, and Rob and I are working on our Netflix series. So that's the next step.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome.
Exactly. Yes, but props to Pete because he did all the hard work.
Yeah, it's fun.
He's like the Dr. Dre, Steven Spielberg producer guy.
There you go.
Putting it all together.
Now we need to recruit for our Netflix series, like Matthew McConaughey as Steve Ballmer, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Who's going to play Steve Ballmer?
Yeah.
Who's going to play Bill Gates? Oh my God.
Christian Bale. We should get Christian Bale as Steve Ballmer. That would be good.
He can find a way. He's an amazing versatile actor.
Yeah, I would hire him. Sure.
The fact that he found a way to make himself look like Dick Cheney tells me
that was amazing.
That he must be the most versatile actor ever. It's like, because I know what he looks like, and it's not like Dick Cheney.
That's right. That's right.
So I think he could definitely pull off Bomber. You're right.
Hey, speaking of, unfortunately, I need to bolt, so I'm going to leave you guys to it.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy the conference.
Thank you.
Adios.
All right. Let us know if they changed their name again.
What is that?
No, right? So, what's up?
Wow.
What's up, Dimitri? What have you been up to?
Not much. I kind of watched the Apple announcement. So there's a new iPhone coming. You probably heard about that.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, people.
God. No, before we do that, let's talk about his headphones. What the hell are those?
Oh, it's still the old one. I mean, old. I mean, I've been having those ones for a while. They're actually from a small Ukrainian company. So they're kind of open headset type of stuff. So pretty good quality actually. They're kind of Sennheiser level, but for much cheaper.
Oh, okay, cool.
But still,
cool.
Still on the high.
So the funniest tweet I saw that happened during the Apple event was, and if you had like CNBC or Fox Business on at the same time, you would see that Apple was plummeting. Their stock price was going down. Here's this funny tweet. Well, it's probably recovered now. It says Apple shares are now selling off as investors realize Apple just launched the same iPhone for the 6th time in a row. And I was like, it's so incremental. You know what I mean? They changed so little. And all the fanboys go, oh, they came out with a new color.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and it's going to be part of my note my piece that goes out. Everyone focus on iPhone too much. Apple intelligence for Apple users is much bigger than the iPhone.
Yeah, I do agree, and
this is where the Apple haters don't get it. They can't expand their thinking beyond certain conventions. And that's why you look at the announcements. Number one, most of this stuff shouldn't have been news because they already announced most of it, right? I really think it's really, how are they demonstrating that they're leveraging AI in its totality to create new functions? And I thought that people were probably making fun of that camera control button. I thought that thing is friggin' badass. I think it'll make a big difference. It's simple, it's multifunctional, and it's a hell of a lot better than the action button, which I thought was not a big deal. But a lot of people made a big deal out of that. The action button. It's like, no, this is like friggin'
action button was
did this a long time ago, and they placed it exactly in the wrong place. Yes, that Lenovo did. It's like, why is that
in the wrong place? Yeah,
but then they're gonna make fun of a camera control button, which I think people are gonna love. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I can't agree more.
At this point, I wish they'd never done the stupid action button.
Yeah, this idea that you can take a picture of something and it's going to run some AI to help you remember it. I take pictures of things that I want to remember all the time. Now having something that's going to process them, I think it's brilliant. And I totally agree with you, Leonard. I think people are looking at, is the screen going to be folding? Is it by 3 triple color? Blah 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 blah. No, it's the ecosystem that makes Apple extremely strong, and now they're starting to inject AI into it. So.
They've always had AI. So if you look at the stuff that they wrapped around the camera control button, most of it is non-generative. There's a lot of AI, features that can be triggered agentically, but those things have already existed. And this is the other thing that people don't realize. And the reason why Apple was able to basically come to market with Apple Intelligence so quickly is exactly the same reason why Microsoft was able to do it. These are just like friggin' chatbot frameworks. They're repurposing them, and that's it. But people think it's like friggin' magic, but it's not. It's been around. Nothing has changed, But one thing, though, is these guys, Apple, have never really publicly exposed themselves to the risk of how these these models don't do a great job, but I've seen some now reports and some accounts where people are saying, wow, this is just crappy like everyone else's.
Right? So the question, Leonard, will this create a super cycle for the iPhone or not?
Let me ask
serious
you
question
first.
Serious question.
Okay, let me ask you another serious question, Mr. Analyst. What the hell's a super cycle?
It's when people buy the shit out of something. It's kind of like when Microsoft keeps hoping, this AI PC is going to create a super cycle renewal, refurbished. Like companies usually buy new PCs every 3 years or whatever. Yeah. And so they're hoping, I mean, trust me, don't forget, folks, just in case you thought technology was all about, all this cool stuff, it's still a business.
Oh, yeah.
And they are all hoping, their marketers, turn the volume to 11, and they're trying to get people to maybe jump out of the current cycle they're in for buying and create a super cycle, and and buy something out of band. And so that was the hope for the AI PCs. And you're right, there's no doubt there's a lot of talk, this new iPhone going to be a super cycle and everybody's going to go crazy. And my answer is no. I'm not saying that the Apple Intelligence isn't good stuff, but as you know, if you watched, we're not going to see it for a long time. Barely, little things will roll out later this year, and then most of it is going to roll out in 2025. And so, so right now, purchase of that phone is actually based on the phone, and I'd say the camera button.
Yeah, but the camera button. But let's think about this for a moment. The thing is everyone else is also beta. They've just, from a messaging perspective, they've accelerated, made it look like it's sooner than, maybe Apple's like 2-3 months off, a quarter, maybe 2. Samsung's in there, right? They got in early.
I feel like, don't you feel like Samsung was way earlier to the party to get AI baked into their Galaxy phones?
Yeah.
You're always at their events.
They
had real stuff baked in their phone way early.
But here's the interesting thing is when I was in Berlin, I have an Android phone as well. I have the Samsung S23.
Yeah.
And but the thing is I never used the AI stuff. I really don't. I don't find it all that useful. So it wouldn't make a huge impact in my buying decision. Because the features are not that robust. Also, a lot of the features that they talk about are already in an iPhone as a Google service or an Apple service. And like, for instance, the translate stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was with Prakash Sangam, and he has a Android phone. I have both. iPhone and Android phone, and we were doing translations, right? Because we don't know how to read German and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the features are already there, so it's not that compelling of a.
I thought it was funny during the Apple event, and now you'll get ChatGPT, and I'm like, we've been able to download ChatGPT on our phone forever. That's nothing new. It's just
the difference usually with Apple is integration in the Apple ecosystem. Because what Android has always been doing, which I find extremely frustrating, is that, you buy an Android phone from AT&T, you have an AT&T photo app, you have a Samsung photo app, and you have a Google photo app. And which the heck the one do you freaking use?
Good point.
So I keep on buying Apple because I have my photos on my iPhone that naturally goes into my Mac PC on my desk, naturally on my laptop, naturally on my iPad, and the whole thing is really integrated as an experience. And this is something they do much, much better than the rest.
Yeah, I agree there. We talked about that.
But you pay a tax for that. Yeah, it's more expensive, but hey,
really,
I trust them more.
Phones are becoming more expensive.
Yeah.
That's the
and plus, the elephant in the room is I still trust Apple more when it comes to privacy than all the others, because they make me pay more so that they don't have to sell my data to make their margin.
But they don't.
It depends what you want.
More. Look at how much all these phones cost
probably
about the same now, if not are more expensive. But the thing is the other interesting thing is Apple didn't charge more for the generative AI. Dude, at the end of the day, I think this is all just going to be Apple's joke on the industry, where they say this stuff doesn't amount to a lot, and we're just going to ride your ignorant hype. We're going to take advantage of it. Right. But at the end of the day, you can't charge more. It's table stakes. And you know what? That's going to be a problem for everyone else.
It's true.
Right? It sounded like Leonard was just talking about 5G. You can't charge more. It's table stakes.
Right. Increase
Master Cat videos.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just go somewhere else. I mean,
so I know non-super interesting news, and we can tie this into the Apple thing, is this week Samsung's rolling out their OS, what do they call it? One UI 6.1.1 or whatever. Anyway, to older devices. So let's talk about this phenomenon. When the last Samsung event that you were at, they launched the latest Galaxy devices, and it's got all this AI stuff, and they create the illusion that because you got this new phone, and that's how you're able to do this AI stuff. And then about a month later, they go, "Oh, we're actually going to put that out for last year's devices too." And then a few months later, "Oh, even the year before last, we're going to roll that out to it." And so you start going, I thought there was something special about this new phone that I needed in order to run this AI stuff. But now it looks like it'll run on the old stuff.
Yeah.
This could happen with Apple too. I think Apple was trying to create the illusion that you've got to get the brand new iPhone to run the AI stuff. What happens when they roll it out there, and then 6 months later they go, "You wouldn't believe what we decided to do. We tested in the labs, and we found out that iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 can actually run this, and we're backporting it." People are like, "Yeah." Of course, Apple may not do that because everybody always has conspiracy theories about their phone slowing down, their iPhone slowing down when it's time to upgrade. And so it wouldn't surprise me if my existing iPhone somehow gets updated, 6 months from now, and it can run all the same stuff that iPhone 16 can do,
Well, but thinking more broadly beyond the iPhone, so if you look at Apple Intelligence, any of the MacBooks that are loaded or powered by Apple Silicon will be able to run Apple Intelligence, and so that's 11 MPU tops, right? And probably
only 11.
Yeah, but the challenge is going to be for older generation. And Apple always tended to have less memory, right, than Android. Android typically doubled up, and so one of the advantages that Samsung's going to have is they're going to have an install base that tends to have twice the memory of any similar generation iPhone.
But the architecture is very different. So it's always been a little bit of apple to oranges comparison, because Apple is more a SoC, where they're much more closer together. So,
but these are memory bound type of AI. Workload.
Might be. You might have a point. It's interesting.
I'm pretty sure I do have a point.
But I mean, for AI work, I see where you're going for AI workload. So for AI workload, I see where you're going.
Analysts know
other workloads,
right, Rob? Analysts know something occasionally that most people don't.
Occasionally.
Let's
not get crazy.
So exactly. We're episode 210, and you got one. Okay, good.
Exactly. But I think it's going to create an interesting trend where everyone's going to now try to figure out how to simplify the on-device footprint, instead of this talk about having 20, 30, 40, 50 models running at the same time. It's more about how do we reduce the footprint and have fewer models and less resources being allocated to AI, or minimizing the resources allocated to AI. I mean, that's just the way that things are going to go. And so anyway,
I can see that.
That's where an area where Apple is definitely pioneering, because if anyone just goes and looks at the developer stuff, you start to see what Apple's doing, and they're doing some really, really interesting stuff. People just don't know it.
They just don't know it.
You have to remember that they were the first one to understand that if you wanted to be successful, you had to bring an ecosystem. If you remember the MP3 player time, when the iPod came out, everybody said, it's just an MP3 player, it's not as good as blah, blah, blah. But it was not the iPod. It was iTunes. It was the relationship with the different producers, the different relationship with the artists. And then when they came up with the iPhone, same idea. People say, no, but they came a little later, but with the developer ecosystem, with the distribution mechanism, and you create the ecosystem. And how much, I know, however people complain about the 30% cost of the App Store, it's a free distribution system.
That's right.
Who else give you? Because, I mean, and especially I do believe, I've read a few articles on that, but I do believe that in a world where software production, because of AI, becomes more and more simple, your distribution is going to be the main difference. Because you can write software with AI somewhere in a corner and get, I got this great program. Now, how do you get in front of people and how do you make money out of it?
You're so right. What would all those developers be doing? They'd have their website up and hoping people would come to their website to download their app.
So now they complain that they lose 30%, but they gain 70%.
You're going to get a lot of hate email like I get.
Listen, no, but Dimitri's right. It's the difference between having your store out in the middle of nowhere or having your store at the mall or in the airport. That's the difference. And so you're paying extra. You can take a hit, but more eyeballs and more foot traffic is happening for your app.
Yeah.
Then, because before when we had apps in the Wild West days, when I invented the smartphone ecosystem, people were just downloading files from websites in the early 2000s, cab files and things like that. And there's some aggregators that would put stuff together.
Yeah.
Getting found on the internet. And so you're focused on search engine optimization and you're buying display ads to try to people find you so they can find your app. And so, the App Store is magic,
And even beyond the discovery, because you got to argue that the discovery is more difficult because there's so many apps. It's just your app is there's a mechanism to upgrade, there's a mechanism to connect you, there's a mechanism. It's the whole infrastructure of the distribution.
That's where the competition happens, right? And, if you really look at how Google and Apple, I don't want to, alienate and, label Google as, not
Google Play.
Yeah. The thing is that they do help smaller players. They provide them with some discounts and some breaks so that they can develop their business, right? And but the thing is, you're bringing up a great point, Dimitri. That is where the competition is happening, is between developers. But for the consumers, man, I'll tell you right now, man, I don't trust developers. There's no reason for me to think that they are developing something for, that is quality, right? They're gonna push out some crap. They may be tapping a third-party service or something like that is not trustworthy, and they're ingraining it into their application, exposing you to all kinds of issues. I'm not cool with that as a consumer, and I also don't want to spend the friggin' time to do the homework and vet these developers. No, quite honestly, man, seriously, I don't know why there is this assumption that all developers are there out to do good. They're obviously not, because they have these guys called hackers, right? And cyber criminals. But we got to get real. Yeah, you can't sit there and color developers with the broad brush that they're all there trying to do good. But one of the things that really bothers me is they like to, there's this culture of pumping crap out there.
Yeah, and even beyond not just getting into hackers and so on, there is so much poorly written code because the user experience is not well thought through. So this is actually why, to some extent, I think there was a recent, everybody was proud in Europe because apparently were forcing Apple to provide an iPhone without an app store. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because the other mechanism of the App Store is that there is, as we said, a certain level of scrutiny on the quality of the code, and there is certain check that the infrastructure provides to you for free that you're not going to get anymore. So good luck with your you're actually going to have private data issues on the iPhone thanks to the European regulation, because those apps that will be distributed outside of the App Store, I bet you the first thing the guy's going to do is suck the data that they couldn't if they were writing an app for the App Store.
Sounds a lot like a Chinese Android device to me.
Yeah.
Just hacked to oblivion, side loading everything. Yeah. Remember the early days of the iPhone when people used to jailbreak the iPhone to make it do things and get at?
And people still do it. Yeah, but again, I think there is I think we talked about that on this show. But I'm all for regulation, but they have to be smart ones.
Yeah.
In tech, it's rare. It's rare.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I have to go. I have to go to a private meeting.
Okay.
Where I'm going to be told secret stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm an analyst.
Enjoy. Have fun.
Enjoy.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be scraping websites today to find out things. I'm going to be told things.
Yeah.
Try not to laugh too much, Rob.
I'll try not to. Oh my God.
Who wants to take us out? Are you going to take us out before we leave, or?
Sure, I'll take us out if you're ready. All right. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us at IoT Coffee Talk on our special September 11th Moment of Silence episode. Yeah, definitely think about what happened today if you're an American, but people all around the world too. Anyway, definitely buy some merch from us, our IoT Coffee Talk merch, to help support Elevate Our Kids. Or go to elevateourkids.org and donate there. You're going to hear stuff here that you won't hear anywhere else. And the reason for that is if you're an employee at some other analyst firm saying the stuff that we say, you would probably be fired. And so that's why we're so special here. We're jailbroken, basically, is what we are. And so anyway, I think we talked about a lot of interesting stuff today. And so we will see you next week. So keep it real. Stay safe, people. And don't inhale the smoke that I saw outside Vegas today. It's scary.
Yeah. All right. Peace out.
Adios.